Hello, I'm Dr. Judy Britz, the Executive Director of the Maryland Biotechnology Center. 25 years ago, HIV was a deadly disease, and a diagnosis of AIDS was really a death sentence with just 10 to 11 months survival. Today, HIV is a chronic disease, and individuals who are diagnosed with an HIV infection frequently live more than 50 years after their diagnosis. One of the early stages of this epidemic was really containing the amount of virus that was being spread through blood transfusion. We celebrate this week the 25th anniversary of the approval of the blood screening test by the FDA. While there's been a well-known dispute about who discovered the virus first, there is no controversy in the scientific community that Dr. Bob Gallo discovered human T-cell growth factor, now known as interleukin-2, which enabled the growth of the virus in large quantities to create a commercial test. This is really what allowed the translation of the basic discovery of the virus into a blood screening test that could protect individuals from getting HIV by transfusion. Maryland was really central to this translational research success that begins with the discovery of the virus at the National Institutes of Health with Dr. Bob Gallo and goes all the way through to the commercialization and implementation through the American Red Cross testing. I was a senior scientist at the time working at a company called Electronucleonics that was under contract with NIH to actually expand and grow the virus. And then E&I was one of the companies awarded some of these samples of virus to turn into a commercial ELISA blood screening test. An important part of any sort of translational project is the clinical trials. The NIH distributed samples of this virus to 5 companies, and within 6 months those companies had conducted clinical trials on over 100,000 blood donors. Within Maryland, one of the important collaborators on this project was the School of Public Health and Hygiene at Johns Hopkins, and Dr. Frank Polk provided many of the clinical samples needed for the clinical validation. The rapid availability of a commercial blood screening test for HIV meant that transmission of HIV through blood and blood products was immediately interrupted, and it had an impact around the world. Imagine in the last 25 years all of the cases of HIV transmission that have been prevented by the transmission of blood. The 25th anniversary really celebrates an unprecedented speed at which a commercial product was developed that required the collaboration and cooperation of industry, academics, and government in a way that had not been successful before. We can think of it as the biotech equivalent of the Manhattan Project, and that in the interest of national safety and a national crisis, that we could bring together academics, industry, and government to achieve a common goal.